Good morning, everyone. Our message today is entitled, Stand Up for Jesus. Standing up for Jesus, I think, is something that's growing more important as the days go by, as we're in situations where we may be being told that Jesus doesn't really matter, that Jesus doesn't really have a stake in our country or our culture, or that things would be better if we didn't have him, that the things that he said, the things that he's told us are things that hold us back. We could be in a better situation if we didn't have Jesus. So what I'd like to share with you today is just how much of our society, of the daily lives that we live, are focused on Jesus, and that we actually have very little idea about what things would look like if we didn't have him. But instead, it's possible to see what life would look like in a civilization without Jesus. So we're going to explore those thoughts today. I know it sounds hard to believe, but the society we live in owes itself entirely to Jesus. So go ahead and reject those arguments that Jesus has nothing to do with the world, with the nation, with the culture that we live in. In fact, society owes our understanding of what truth or even reality is to Jesus. It's impossible to separate Jesus from the success and prosperity of the land that we love, because all the things we take for granted on a daily basis come from the Bible. Without Jesus, our entire civilization would disappear, and I'll prove it. One of the things we value most in America is freedom. So surely a bunch of people just got together and came up with the idea of freedom, and then a bunch of other guys just came by and said, "Oh yeah, that works, let's go with that." Wrong. Our concept of freedom comes from our belief that all humans are innately valuable. But where does that come from? Does it come from another group of guys who came up with that one first, and then we added freedom on top of it? Let's look at Genesis 1:26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness." Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created man. Male and female he created them. So if each person is created in God's image, how do we treat that person? Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So if everyone is created in God's image, and God views those people who are his children as equally special and beloved, we'd have to treat them with equal respect, wouldn't we? James 2:9. If you have respect to persons, in other words, if you play favorites, you commit sin and are convicted of the law as transgressors. Proverbs 31:8-9. Speak for those who cannot speak, and judge righteously, and plead the cause of the helpless. Ezekiel 18:20. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. So here, we've got choices to make. We can either accept a world without Jesus, or we can accept one with him. Well, all right, now we understand that God directs us to treat people properly because everyone is made by God. And people should have the freedom to make their own choices because God didn't appoint anyone to take his place and rule over us, since that job is Christ's. God forbids covetousness against those he's given success to. And God forbids us from creating generational punishments for the sins of people from hundreds of years ago. But do we have the laws to put God's words into practice? Exodus 23, 1 through 3. Do not make a false report. Do not follow the group in doing evil. Do not prevent the poor from justice. Leviticus 19, 35 to 36. You shall not be unjust in your judgment, in weighing or measuring. Just balances and just weights are what you shall have. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19, 11 and 13. You shall not steal, nor deal falsely, nor lie. You shall not defraud your neighbor or rob him of his wages. So why are all these things so important for a good society? Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn. That sounds about right, doesn't it? When incompetent, cruel, and wicked and selfish people are in charge, our lives are a disaster. But when good people are in charge, we see a golden age. But a stable society isn't just about rules for the people in charge. It's about everyone's work ethic and their state of mind. So where does our work ethic come from? You may have heard people talk from time to time about the Protestant work ethic, perhaps. It usually stems from people talking about the Pilgrims and how hard they had to work, especially that first overwinter that they spent, and Neil can tell you a lot about what happened with the Pilgrims. But the idea of Protestant presupposes that there had to be something to protest against. What did they protest against? They protested against the activities of the Catholic Church. So, where does our Protestant work ethic come from? It still comes from Jesus. So, this is what's important. A group of people, not just one individual, but a society that goes in a specific direction, working towards a specific goal with a specific leader in mind. And the problem that we have is, as Jesus told us, you cannot have two masters. Eventually, you have to be ruled by something. You have to be ruled by someone. So who is it going to be? It has to be someone you have to choose. You can't say, oh, I'm not ruled by anybody, because the people who say that are ruled by themselves. So you don't get out of it by saying that you don't serve anybody, because the one you're serving is just whatever your particular impulse is. So we have to choose. We have to stand up for something. We have to be part of something. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. For even when we were with you, we commanded you this, that if any would not work, neither shall he eat. Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, do it with all your heart, as if to the Lord and not to men. So if you have a culture that believes all people were made by God for a purpose, and because of that they have a special dignity that shouldn't be ignored no matter what hand they've been dealt, and if you have a government that's focused on justice regardless of who seeks it, one that refrains from punishing people for things they weren't even alive to be part of, and you have a society of people all working hard because they want to be successful and because they want to show their love of God, what would that kind of society look like? But at the beginning, I said that Jesus was the foundation. So let's look at some of the things that Jesus specifically said. Matthew 7:12, in everything do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up all of the law and the prophets. Luke 6:31, do to others as you would have them do to you. Luke 6:38, give and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. John 15:12, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6:19-20, do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth where moth and vermin destroy, but store up for yourselves treasure in heaven. Luke 12:15, watch out, be on your guard against covetousness. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters. Either he will hate one and love the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And maybe most importantly, John 8:32, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. See, we believe that there is truth, and that truth is knowable. That's what science is supposed to be about. That's what math is supposed to be about. If you have something and you want to know about it, you put it to the test and you find out whether the thing you thought about it is true or not. And when we prove something to be true, we say, oh yeah, that's right. So when we talk about gravity, we say, well, gravity is true because if it wasn't there, I would just jump up and I'd keep going. So we here in our culture, in our society, believe that there is knowable truth. If someone were to come up to us and say, hey, there's no gravity, you would laugh at them, because where does the foundation of that belief come from? It hasn't been tested. It hasn't been proven. We understand innately that there is truth, and that's from Jesus Christ. So what would a society built on objective truth look like? It looks like this. Maybe some of you know who this is. A few of you are still around to have been there in 1989. In 1989, the leader of the Soviet Union, Boris Yeltsin, unconvinced of the success of America and its social, economic, and political principles, believed that he had been shown only Potemkin villages up to this point. He was merely dragged off to stage set pieces made to glaze America because that's what he would have done. He demanded to stop at a random store, one that Americans couldn't have predicted, and thus he would be able to reveal to the world that our success was a fraud. He stopped at a random grocery store in Clear Lake, Texas, where that picture was taken. He couldn't believe his eyes. American prosperity was real. His society had lost. American society had won. It was over. So let's take a look at a few Jesus-free cultural practices around the world that contrast with what a society built on Jesus would look like. We have to choose. Remember, you can't have both. You have to pick which one. You have to pick which way. And once you've decided, you have to stay on that path. So first is a cultural concept called izat. Izat is usually translated as honor, but that's probably not the best word to use. We use the word honor to mean an indication of someone's inner behavior, their personal righteousness. Izat is about external perception. In Izat culture, your goal is to gain the perception of success by doing whatever it takes. Since honor is not internally revealed, but externally perceived, it doesn't matter how you gain it or what you have to do to keep it. Dealing honestly and making less money than you would if you cheated is dishonorable. Cheating your client by using an inferior grade steel in the products you manufacture, but charging for the superior grade and pocketing the difference is honorable because you win. Imagine how stressed you would be every day under a society based on those principles. Who would you sign a contract with? You know whoever you sign a contract with is going to try to twist and turn and manipulate everything to get the best for themselves. And so the only thing you could do in the face of that is to be the one who twists and turns first. But then they know you're going to do that, so they're going to try to do something. And eventually it becomes a downward spiral of everyone trying to manipulate everyone else, and nothing gets done. Let's do one more. Takia. This word loosely translates to something like strategic deception. Those who follow this principle believe that their God permits and even encourages, depending on your scholar, deception, which ends in a benefit to the believer and the God. The initial concept was something like, if you're captured by the enemy, it's okay to say you don't believe in our God. He'll forgive you later if it saves your life. But over time, it's morphed into a cultural concept where practitioners use deception as a strategic tool. If a deception will help their God gain power, then the deception is a moral imperative. If the deception will help the believers against outsiders, then the deception is a moral imperative. Imagine what a society would look like where the truth is arbitrary and morality is about results. Who would you trust if you knew that the foundation of someone's moral belief system was, it's okay for me to tell a lie as long as it benefits me and the God I believe in the end? Imagine trying to make friends with someone like that. So here is an important thing for us to learn in this society where truth is considered something that everyone has an obligation to do. In a society where truth is paramount and where everyone is believed by default to be telling the truth, lying is overpowered, right? Lying is something that gets you incredible benefits because no one else is trying to trick you. If you're the only one pulling the trick, you're going to win every time. What I want to share with you most today is this. The civilization you come from has Christ as its root. All that you love cannot exist without him. You have no idea how much of his influence you take for granted every day. If you allow Jesus to be replaced by something else, the society that you live in will disappear along with it. Because the foundation of what we understand the world to be about, what we understand the way people should behave comes from Jesus. It's not enough to act like Lot and carry your family of salt shakers around because at least you were righteous enough to be saved from the collapse of your society. If your plan for disaster is, when everything goes bad, I'm just going to run away so I don't have a stake in things, you're in a bad shape. Because think about it, if you had put up a fight first, you wouldn't have to run away. So any of you who remember the old Mad magazine, I feel like this is something they would have made a joking headline about. Can you imagine Lot just running around with all of his salt family members? It's not going to be a good time. The Bible reveals to us that a prosperous society is a cultural, collective responsibility. We as a group need to stand for Jesus literally or else. 2 Chronicles 7:13, if I shut up the heavens so there's no rain, or command locusts to devour the land, or if I send a plague among my people, if my people seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. But if not, 2 Chronicles 7:20, so it's part of that same dialogue. God says, then I will pluck them up by the roots out of my land, which I have given them, and I will cast them out of my sight. It's our responsibility as a group to say no to things that are ungodly, unchristian, and wicked in our hometown. It is our responsibility to insist on the integration of Christ as the foundation of our society and to reject any efforts to remove him. We have no idea how much we take for granted every day which comes from God. If we want to keep it, we need to be on his side. We need to stand up. Now here is something important because I want to give this quick lesson to you, and it's something that's literally so easy a 4-year-old can do it. How do I know that? Because this is something that my sister taught her little girls, my nieces. If they don't want something, like vegetables, you say, "Oh, would you like some of these? Would you like some of these peas?" "No, thanks." That's it. That's all you have to say. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to get red in the face. You don't have to lecture anybody. You don't have to yell at anybody. "No, thanks." "Would you like to remove Jesus from here?" "No, thanks." "Would you like to add in this sinful thing here?" "No, thanks." If you're feeling alone, thinking that things are a little bit too big for you to make a difference, think of it this way. Light always shines brighter in the darkness. Turn a flashlight on in the day, and it doesn't add much to the light that there is. But if you turn it on at night, it's incredible. There are so many worried people who feel like they're alone in the darkness. But when they see your light, won't it look like a path? Have courage. Show your light in the darkness. Sure, it's scary because everyone can see you, even those who hate the light and want you to turn it off. No, I like the darkness, turn the light off. But isn't it worth it to risk turning that light on, knowing that there might be someone waiting for that light, huddled and cold in the darkness, looking for direction? They know it's not right. They know they don't belong in the darkness, but they don't know where to go. They don't know where to take that first step. Wouldn't your light give them direction? So what I ask you to do today is to stand up for Jesus. Now, I had Rembrandt paint me this very nice picture of Jesus. This is the King that we serve. We have no idea how deep and how wide God's blessings go, because our society is built on a foundation of those principles, and it goes beyond this country. Our society extends back into Europe, where they also adopted Christianity, where the light of Christ brought prosperity and blessing to all the people. You know, they call the time after the fall of the Roman Empire the Dark Ages, and that's kind of a subjective thing to call it the Dark Ages. But I think the true Dark Ages were the time before Jesus Christ. Because where did you go? Sure, maybe the Jews down in a corner of the sea, in the Mediterranean, knew where to go, but even they had lost direction, falling apart as a result of rejecting God. But Jesus Christ came so that you would have a pathway to him, so that even if you fall down, even if you fail, you can get back up. Even if you sin, you can ask for forgiveness and restoration. And our belief as a society that our God loves us and destines us for blessing and wants to care for us and wants to forgive us and wants to give us hope is the foundation of a lot of our thought, including the justice system. We try to rehabilitate our criminals. We don't just throw them away because we believe they can get better. Well, why would we do that? Because Jesus says you can get better. So, I want to ask you this week to go and look at little things. Go to a grocery store and see all the stuff that's just there. Why is it there? Because they figure you're not going to steal. That's why. They trust you to take only the things that you need and to pay for it. Look around you. Look at traffic lights where people just stop. Go to other countries and see what happens when they meet up at an intersection. It's all just honking. We have a foundation built on the love of God. But if you don't have Jesus Christ today, if you've gone a long time in the darkness and you haven't accepted him, or if you feel like you've fallen away for too long and you want restoration, come forward. Stand up, take that step, and we will be here to guide you along that path. I'm sure there are those among us who have their light on. Maybe you're on social media telling the truth. Maybe you're talking in your workplace, even if it might get you fired. Wherever it is that you turn on your light and stand up, Jesus sees you. So, stand up for Jesus.